just under a minute before our first speaker is going to be talking. Oh my God, there he is. It's Ray Khanna, Congressman of District 17.
Hi, everyone. Oh, listen, I am so grateful to all of you for turning out. You're true patriots. Give yourselves a round of applause for turning out. What a turnout. And I feel so disappointed, not as a Democrat, but as an American, that we have in this country a place where people are more afraid, Congress people are more afraid of Donald Trump than they are of their own voters. When I was growing up, I used to look forward to getting to ask my local member of Congress questions. And that member of Congress in Bucks County, Pennsylvania was Peter Kosmar. And he used to take questions from everyone, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. I used to go to school board meetings. It was invigorating being a citizen, participating in democracy. The most sort of beautiful part of American democracy is at the local level, is the town hall. And the fact that Representative Colley refuses to do town halls is just a betrayal of the American spirit. And they're refusing to do town halls. They've been instructed not to do town halls, the Republicans, across our state and across the country. That's why on Sunday, I'm going down to Southern California, doing a town hall in Representative Valadeo's district, in Young Kim's district, in Ken Calvert's district. And there's so many RSVPs because people want to be able to talk to their members of Congress. Here is what is going on right now that is so concerning. There's an $880 billion cut in Medicaid that Representative Colley voted for, that all the Republicans in the House voted for. What does that mean? Some of the districts have 30, 40, 50% of folks are in Medicaid. It's the largest health insurance program in the world, 72 million people. But to have $880 billion cut from that program, that means millions of people are going to be kicked off health insurance. Hundreds of thousands in California kicked off health insurance, especially if they are making under $100,000 and may not be at the lowest income of working class folks, kicked off health insurance. It means hospitals, particularly in rural communities and in smaller towns, could close because it's going to hurt not just the people on Medicaid, but those hospitals and community centers and federal health centers require the Medicaid dollar. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so I don't know where I left, but look, it's going to mean the closing of hospitals. It's going to mean people being kicked off of insurance. Why? Why are they doing this? To provide tax breaks for the very wealthy. And the reality is that they're not balancing the budget. You know, their budget, this is so important to know for folks who talk about balanced budgets. Donald Trump said, oh, we're going to balance the budget in year one. Here's the fact. Their budgets add $28.5 trillion to our debt. Our debt is $36 trillion. They had 28 point more. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Raise your hand if you can. All right, thank you. So they're gutting Medicaid, leading to the closing of hospitals, leading to people being kicked off insurance. They're adding $28.5 trillion to our national debt. It's $4.6 trillion more than the current budgets that President Biden left them with. President Biden had a plan to lower the deficit. They're adding to the deficit. And so they're increasing the deficit tax breaks for the parent.
Everybody needs to sign off.
Please turn on the captions so when we lose his audio, we can still read it.
There you go.
Good idea.
Great idea. Yes, thank you.
Now I'm just so impressed that make this work. And I feel bad. And I feel bad you have to do virtual town halls because you can't get a congressman to show up in person.
It sounds like Riley.
He's a good speaker.
83% of those tax breaks are going to go to the top 1%. Now let me give you some facts in this country. We went from 53rd in income inequality in the 1980s, we're 128th today. 128th in the world. And the stock market, 93% of the stock, 10% of Americans own 70% of the wealth. The bottom 50% own 2.6% of the wealth. And Donald Trump and the Republicans decided the bottom 50% own 2.6% of the wealth and the top 10% own 70%, that they're going to give a tax break that benefits the top 1%. 83% of the tax break is going to go to the top 1%. And to do that, they're going to add to our deficits and they're going to take away health care from millions of Americans and have hospitals closed. That vote. There's no way he can justify taking health care away and giving tax breaks to the 1% and adding to the deficit. And on top of that, what is most offensive is that they're firing veterans. They're firing people who wore the uniform and went to Iraq. They're firing veterans who went to Afghanistan. I know some of these people. They've spoken out. Some of them voted for Donald Trump. And they work in the Park Service. They work in Veterans Affairs. 1/3 of federal workers are veterans. And because of Trump and Vance and Musk, they're basically be fired because somehow they don't live up. These are people who risk their lives for our nation.
Thank you.
For the federal government. That's what they're doing. And it's not saving that much money. It's only 3% of the federal budget. So they're firing veterans. They are cutting Medicaid. They're closing Social Security offices as we speak. Try getting someone new onto Social Security. You'd have a long line when you call. It's about Social Security fraud, claiming that 20 million people over 100 are getting Social Security checks. That's just not true. They're calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme because they want to try to cut Social Security. We have to this time stand up for saying government is there to protect the working and middle class. The Democrats, we stand for a strong working and middle class. We stand for people having health care. I believe we need Medicare for all, but at the very least, we should be cutting Medicare. We stand for expanding Social Security, not cutting Social Security. We stand for helping our veterans have good jobs once they wear the uniform and risk their lives for the United States of America. I represent a district with Apple, Google, $12 trillion of wealth in my district. I know what's happening with AI. We are going to produce more wealth in this country than we ever have before. Producing so much wealth And we still have 25% of Americans who are working hard, living under $25,000 a year. Shame on us that we can't provide every American with health care. Shame on us that we're producing so much wealth that we can't have childcare in this country. Shame on us that we can't make sure that I had as a kid. The sun. Oh, and have higher. We're worried about going to a debt. And yet we have these people in charge who want to take that away for Americans to finance the. You know how we stop that? We stop that by showing up. We stop that by speaking out. We stop that by having big turnouts at these kind of town halls. I'll end with this point. People always and fight so hard. And when our democracy is at stake, when Donald Trump literally is out there and J.D. Vance is literally out there saying they're going to defy the court orders. They're going to defy the Supreme Court. J.D. Vance literally quoted Andrew Jackson. He said, okay, the Supreme Court has ruled, now try to enforce it. They're daring the courts not to follow the rule of law. Never happened in our country since the time of Andrew Jackson. How do we push back? How do we push back in this time of fear? I was born in Philadelphia in 1976, our bicentenary. My parents came to this country in the 1960s during Kennedy's call, where we were going to go to a moon, where we were going to build things in America. It was the place to be. My great Gandhi fighting for India's independence. And he struggled for that independence movement for 15 years. See, there are people who sacrificed for me, and there are people who sacrificed for this country. We won the Revolutionary War. We won the Civil War and freed the slaves. There are people, many of us who know, who climbed the cliffs in Normandy to defeat fascism. One of my late colleagues, Don Lewis, was beaten on the Edmund Pettus Bridge to overcome Jim Crow. And we won the Cold War, defeating Soviet communism. Today, it is our time as citizens to recognize the sacrifices people have made and to be patriots in the fight for American democracy. I know if we do that, if we tell the truth, if we talk to our citizens, that we will overcome Trumpism, because I believe in the soul of this country, we're a kind, decent people. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for doing this fight. Yes, for being democracy. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Congressman Khanna, big round of applause once again. So, I'm not Kevin Kiley. I'm not. We got this thing, but that's all we got. My name is Kathy Dotson, and I've lived in Nevada County now 31 years. Moved here when I graduated from college in Southern California. Have not left because I absolutely adore this community, and I have worked hard in doing all kinds of things to make it stronger, livelier, more musical, and more artistic. And I so am glad to be up here carrying the weight of democracy on my shoulders with all of you. Thank you so much. So, can we just talk about this dude really quick, Kevin Kiley? So yeah, he was invited. We personally went to his office, talked to his staff, and he had to go skiing today. But he canceled canceled that because he knew there were going to be protests. You know that whole J.D. Vance thing in Vermont? That was going to happen. So instead he pivoted and he went to the high school in South Lake Tahoe. They didn't like that. They did not like that. He didn't go very far in there. But yeah, it's kind of funny how we presented this whole lovely day. We would have given him a gift bag of Nevada City items, but he chose to go. But you raise your hand if you listened to him on Monday, virtual. Look at that, see? 90 minutes. What did he say? What did he say? Nothing. So it was what he didn't say that was so concerning. I mean, he really treated that 90 minutes like DC business as usual. He didn't respond or address any of our concerns, fears, anything that we are so afraid of that potentially might happen and it already is happening. He has done nothing, even though he said, yes, I support you, my constituents. He did nothing to appease our fears on that call. And he has done nothing in Congress to vote and try to stop Doge, has he? Nothing at all. Nothing. So you guys, I don't have to tell you guys. I mean, I hope that everybody is here. We were hoping all political parties so we could talk about the issues, so we could talk about what is happening in Nevada County because of the stuff, I almost said a bad word, all that stuff that's happening in DC. So right now, we are here together as a community to get together and learn about those issues and then learn about what can be done. We can do stuff. We are doing stuff. You being here is a huge part of all of that. So thank you so much. This is not... I know that you're angry, and you know that everything that's happening is not normal. It is not normal. It is not business as usual.
It's not democracy.
It is not democracy. Thank you. This is a revolution that we are a part of. So know that if we don't do stuff, if we don't react, if we don't push back, and this stuff is happening, it will normalize it. We do not want that to happen. So the more that we as individuals, as a community, as families, as neighbors, all of that, the more that we can push back, we will say, no, this is not normal. We are pushing back and we do not want this for our country. So Indivisible, if you happen to realize, Indivisible Nevada County is the organization that is putting this on. We used to be Indivisible Women. It started back in 2017, and we are open to everybody now. Indivisible Nevada County. And as an organization, as a group of very committed activists, we want to help you find your voice. We want you to be courageous. Because I was saying a few weeks ago, where is the superhero? Where is Obama? Where is Clinton? Where is Biden? Where is Kamala? Where are those people who can do stuff for us and help with the situation? They know it's not business as usual. I don't know. I can't speak for those guys. But I can speak for myself, and I can speak for us that we have to be the superheroes. This is our country. This guy right here, that guy in the White House, they work for us. They work for us. So I'm gonna need your guys' help. We cannot do this alone. And every single day, you need to get out of bed and stay positive, engaged, educated, and hopefully inspired. We have a variety of things that we're going to talk about in terms of what you can do, but just know that 2026 for the new candidates is huge. And we're going to need every single one of you to be talking with your friends, talking and supporting those candidates who share our values of humanity and wanting to protect democracy. So, with that being said, I'd like to invite one of those amazing people who wants to protect democracy, and that is Heidi Hall, our Nevada County Supervisor.
To be engaged. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, but I am here to introduce our next speaker, and I'm pleased and honored and excited to do that. Betty is someone who's made a point of coming up to our rural area time and time again to talk to us about issues that affect us. If you don't know, she was state controller for 8 years, from 2015 to 2023. And she was on the State Board of Equalization for 11 years, from 2004 to 2015. Do you guys know what that means, that she was on those boards? Do you know what skills she has? She knows how to do the math, right? She knows how to do the math with tariffs. She knows how to do the math on taxes for billionaires, tax cuts for billionaires. And she knows how to do the math when we hear that tens of thousands of people are being fired. And those people go back in their community and suddenly they can't buy things and our entire economy is affected. So, one of the state's finest public servants, a truth teller, and a candidate for governor in 2026, please give a Nevada County welcome for Betty Yee.
I am so happy to have my feet planted on the ground with all of you here in Nevada County. Because these are times that are truly extraordinary. And what I just want to say to this caricature is we won't have to be looking at you for too long. Because we are not ready for the duration of this 4-year presidential administration. We are bringing change in 2 years. And right here in Nevada County, I know all of you are going to commit to being sure that we elect the representation that you all so deserve. But let me tell you what's on the line, because Heidi talked about numbers. I think about numbers all the time. So, of course, when the headline started about freezing federal funding, my brain went into overdrive. It's like, well, shoot, how the hell are we going to replace $170 billion of federal funds coming to California? It's impossible. It's impossible without inflicting pain in people's pocketbooks. But how we can avoid it from happening is what we are all collectively going to commit to do each and every day. And that is, yes, wake up, be present, show up, speak out, and frankly, I just want to say, I want his office to feel us, to hear us. We are going to continue to jam his phone lines. We're going to crowd his email inbox. We're going to be in every site where he should be in person. Yes. And be the truth tellers and the trust builders. And how we do that is to talk about what all of this administration is doing and how it's going to affect people's lives. And you feel it right here. It's palpable right here in Nevada County. Because when we talk about, as Khanna talked about Medicaid cuts, rural California will take it the hardest. Access to health care will be curtailed. And as we talk about health and safety, the wildfires we've had here in California to be exacerbated when we abandon our beautiful natural resources like our national parks, when we dismiss the professionals who take care of our public lands and manage our public lands, and the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, all of those things that we have treasured for generations, that we had hoped to pass to the next generations, are going to be left unattended. And when we talk about healthcare, we talk about those who we serve, who have served us, like our veterans. And like so many of our communities that have, just so many Medi-Cal recipients, our healthcare workers are also going to be dismissed. So we begin to see this whole spiraling impact of economies getting dismantled. And so, no surprise, it's so much easier to dismantle something than to build something up, right? Which we have spent generations doing. But what I just want to say is, we're going to look back at this point of time, as we go back and think, wow, this point in history, what did we do? What did we do? And I just gotta say, what I hope is written about this time is that we are fired up. What I hope is written about this time is that, yeah, we're pissed off, but we're not, we refuse to be pissed on. And I also hope what is written about us is that we never back down. We never back down. Because we know, yes, our democracy is at stake, but how we rebuild that is what we are doing here. And that is being present, staying connected, and doing everything we can in that process to keep our community strong. And as we do that, we are gonna win these fights. Because these stories that we share that are so personal to us, and you're gonna hear from a young person, Jack, who just I had the opportunity to meet. I mean, these stories are our communities. These stories are about our neighbors. These stories are about, frankly, about people who actually are scared to even be in public and be with us, sitting next to us today. And so I'm just thrilled to be here. Yes, I'm currently the vice chair of the California Democratic Party, so I need to just tell you, every day there is an action you can be involved in. And Indivisible, thank you for your partnership as an ally to the California Democratic Party. We are going to take back House seats in this next cycle. If it's right here at CD3, we have got many more that we are targeting, and we have home banks already activated. There will be a day of action on Saturday, April 5th, to protect our health care, to be sure that Ken Calvert in CD41, Young Kim in CD40, and also David Valadez in CD22, where my husband and I spent most of the last election cycle. Tough district, but you know what? He's gonna really need to be the pressure needs to be put on him. You know, is it more important to take care of your constituents, or is it more important to keep pledging your allegiance to a president who keeps lying to us? And so this is the work that we have cut out for us. And as Kathy said, this cannot be normalized. This cannot be normalized. But what can be normalized is how we organize, how we come together as a community, how we show up, not just here, right here at home, but everywhere where we know that people really need to hold their elected officials accountable. And as we do that, the change, I promise you, will come. We just cannot let up. And I know Nevada County, you know how to do this. You know how to do this. Indivisible, I definitely know you know how to do this. You have been everywhere as we have needed you as a party. But the one thing I just want to end with is this. You know, this is personal to me from the perspective that I am a part-time caregiver for my 102-year-old mother, soon to be. And as I spoke to her after the election, and she still is a voting citizen, and not only does she vote, but after she fills out her ballot, she gets on the phone with her friends to say, you better have turned in your ballots. But what I'll say about Mom is this. I said to her the day after the election, Ma, how are you feeling about the election? And she was quiet for a while, she looked at me and she said, we know what we gotta do. We know what we gotta do. She's lived for over a century. We know what we gotta do. There have been times that have challenged us, that have been tremendous trials that have tested all of us. This is a time that we're being tested, but we need to step up beyond just for ourselves. We need to step up for those who really are being threatened in terms of not having a sense of belonging, you know, in this country, in our communities. And so just know your actions are going to have an outsized impact, you know, for our immigrant neighbors, you know, who really are being targeted, and for our transgender siblings who are really being dehumanized with every utterance by this administration. And to so many of our professional public sector workers, our federal employees. We live in a great country and a great democracy. And I know that it's not only going to be about what's written in the history books, it's going to be about how the rest of the world views us. And so I know the rest of the world has this wonderful, wonderful aspiration in terms of what American democracy is about, and aspire to that. And yet they're seeing the dismantling of it. And I hope we can really etch in their minds that, yes, we know that democracy is fragile. We know that is something that we constantly have to work to protect and to strengthen. And yes, when we do that, we prevail. So I'm just gonna, my favorite campaign slogan, which I've shared with you, just keep it in mind every day that you get up, because I'm kind of angry. I try not to be that as a candidate, but I have to tell you, I'm pretty angry. But if I just keep repeating the mantras, better be pissed off than pissed on. Better be pissed off than pissed on. Better be pissed off than pissed on. It's very motivating. Because when you say the pissed off part, nobody's gonna piss on our children of the future, where today the president decides through an invitation, like it's almost an invitation to his inauguration, to dismantle the Department of Education? How is that all right for our young people who are learners living with disabilities? How is that all right for our women, our young women and girls who are athletes, student athletes? How is that all right in terms of the foundation of how we build and strengthen our democracy so that we produce discerning citizens? It is not all right. And so we are going to push back. Education is not for sale. Public education is exactly that. It is public education for all of us. And lastly, let me just say, there's been a lot of criticism about the Democratic Party. But let me just say this about the Democratic Party. Our job is to get good leaders elected. And I know we're going to flip this seat in CD3. We are ready. But our leaders need to step out. Yes, it's uncomfortable. And you know what? We've come to the realization this president is not playing nice. So let's just understand what we're working with. But we need our leaders to come out and give us messages to amplify. But the California Democratic Party, we're not waiting. We have plenty of messages to amplify. And frankly, we all know what they are. But as I talk about this, I'm actually very proud of the Democratic National Committee, which has filed suit against the president for dismantling the Federal Elections Commission. The ultimate, so you take down the Department of Education and you dismantle the Federal Elections Commission, and you know what that means. Voting rights. Free and fair elections. That is what is at stake. So when we show up, when we engage, when we organize, this is the antidote. Let's get it done, Indivisible, and we are going to win this fight. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, I'm back. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to Betty for, boy, I know she knows this stuff so deep. She's a truth teller, and she can get you riled up, and we're gonna need to stay riled up. So, I've been asked to speak a little bit from my county seat perspective about what I'm seeing at the local level and the impacts of this administration's policies and actions. Of course, there's so much. It's been hard to focus, right? I could be up here for hours. And you know that's part of the strategy, to just bury us in bullshit, excuse my language, and make it hard for us to react. So we wake up every morning saying, oh, what's next? Sometimes I go have lunch or I have a meeting and I come out, now what? It's constant. So we need to focus, we need to pick a few issues, get ourselves educated, and keep pushing on those. We don't have to do it all. If we all take a piece of it, together we can push back on all of this. And the truth is here that there are some specific local impacts that I'll talk about a little bit. But clearly also it's the national impacts that also have impacts here, right? Just like everywhere. So I joke lately that I get the bad news spot because I'm out proselytizing about how dangerous all this is. But I'm just so glad that I'm now sharing that limelight with all these other great elected officials who are also telling you the bad news, right? And it's important. It's important that we understand exactly what's going on. It's important that we don't soft pedal it. It's important that we're clear on what's happened and what is coming so that we can create the appropriate response, which has to be big and bold and sustained. And this is a great start right here for Nevada County. So Congressman Khanna and Betty touched on some of the issues I was also going to touch on. Just going to remind you again that today Trump eliminated or tried to eliminate the Department of Education. The bulk of the funding that comes out of the department goes to helping disabled kids in the classroom, so they have the appropriate staff, the work that they need with their IEPs, specialized materials. That is going to hurt us here locally. It's going to hurt our children. That is a national effort that has local impacts. How is that about efficiency, right?
Not cruelty.
That's cruelty, right? The cruelty is the whole point. Sometimes you have to think. Social Security. I don't know if they touched on this yet, but if you've been paying attention to the news, what's happening with Social Security is absolutely Orwellian, right? Up to 85,000 people are being sent to offices to deal with Social Security issues that normally could be done over the phone. It's going to overwhelm those offices. Plus, there are a lot of people who can't get out and get there. Guess what they're doing at the same time? Eliminating local Social Security offices. It is insanity. How is that efficiency? VA, we heard about the VA. Right here in Nevada County, we have an award-winning VA department. We have a superb, director who's been involved nationally and at state levels, working really hard to protect our veterans. In this county, we have 8 to 10% of veterans, and the county has had a program going called Built for Zero for the last couple of years, whose aim is to house every single homeless veteran. And we are almost there. We are almost there. And these cuts are going to impact that program and every other program that our people are trying to get going for you. Medicaid, you heard about Medicaid. That one gives me chills. $880 billion to be cut out of that organization, out of the budget, for which Medicaid is the bulk. What is that going to mean? You heard Khanna talk about that. People are going to lose coverage. They're going to lose their cancer treatments. We're going to lose in-home care for elders. We're going to lose access to insulin for diabetes. Our elder care institutions are going to fold. People who rely on Medicaid to make ends meet are going to be economically unstable, and our rural hospitals and clinics are in danger of closing. This is not about efficiency. This is about cruelty. This is about giving to the rich and taking from the rest of us. Finally, right here in our backyard, we've already seen the effects. If you live here, you know that vegetation management is a magic word. Am I right? Yes. Thank you. Nice to know you guys know what we're doing out there. We have been stellar. This county has been amazing at bringing down federal dollars to deal with our vegetation management issues. We put in fuel breaks multi-million-dollar fuel breaks that are protecting the cities. We have another one ready to go. We've given money to fire-wise communities. We have given grants to people. All of that funding is at risk right now. And specifically right now, we have a number of vegetation management programs that have been in process for years, right? We have multiple partners. It takes a long time to get these going. They have all been paused with no certainty that they will be unpaused. Projects like the South Yuba Fuel Break, funded under the previous administration, years in the making, and critical to our fire safety program, is halted. Forest Service staff cuts have deeply impacted the Tahoe National Forest and the Yuba Ranger District. We don't even have enough people now. Every year I've been advocating for more staff, and now these people are going to be cut. You heard today, and be clear, you need to keep yourself educated, that all of those folks were hired back and given back pay. Yay! But They got sent back home on administrative leave. That's paid leave. How is that about efficiency and they're still not in the office doing the work we need them to do? So you can see I'm getting mad too. Seasonal hiring has been stopped with the Forest Service. Firefighting efforts are being hampered. Our public safety is being compromised because of all the wildfire projects that are not getting done now before the next fire season. And when we miss that window, we're done for the year. Every day there's more, and this is just a snapshot. We haven't even talked about Meals on Wheels, food banks, everything that we have to help the most vulnerable in our society. The good news is that we at the county, and I personally, we are advocating at every level of the government we can access. Your city council and town council people, my colleagues, everyone who's involved is advocating as hard as we can, pushing back, asking, begging, reapplying for earmarks again and again. But that's not enough, right? What's happening here today is what we need. Democracy happens at the grassroots. It happens when you all stand up and come out in force like this and demand changes. That is when it happens. This, my friends, is what democracy looks like.
Thank you so much, Heidi. And thank you, Betty. Holy moly, oh my gosh. Look at all of you. Look at all of you. This is so fabulous. So if you noticed, we kind of started at that federal level with Roe, talked about the state level with Betty, county level with Heidi, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about city level. So city level, we have two fabulous, fabulous guests. Daniela is like one of my new favorite people of Nevada City, just so you know. Love her. Daniela Fernandez is currently on the city council for Nevada City. She was a former mayor, and she's also a California Assembly Democratic delegate, newly elected. Thank you so much. She is bringing up with her very special guest, Jack Russ. Give him a big round of applause for this.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Kathy, thank you so much for introducing me. I'm excited to be getting to know you too. I'm a little taller over here. Those roles you mentioned that I'm in, that's just my volunteer work in this community. I also have a day job, and I have the honor to work with youth across Western Nevada County, and I do that in a couple different, with a couple different organizations. The first is I oversee the Elevate Youth Grant at CHIRP, working with Nisenan Tribal Youth. Yes, thank you so much. And then also I work in collaboration with a nonprofit called What's Up Wellness that offers mental health checks in the schools. Thank you, What's Up Wellness. Right? And in collaboration, I've created a program called the Spectrum Project, where we specifically support LGBTQ plus youth in the schools, as well as staff. Yes, absolutely. As well as supporting staff in creating affirming spaces for LGBTQ plus youth. So I do this work largely because I think it's imperative that young people know that they belong, that they know that they have agency and power, and that they deserve a future where they are seen, valued, and supported. And with that, I'm going to quit speaking for a bit, and I'm going to invite up my friend Jack to speak to you.
Hello, my name is Jack Russ, and I'm 14 years old. I'm a student at Lyman Gilmore Middle School in Grass Valley. I just want to say a few things, and I want to ask a question to Kevin Kiley. I know he's not here, but his cardboard cutout is here. Coward. Let's be honest, Kevin Kiley's a coward. We gave him so many chances to come up here, and guess what he did? He declined. Or sorry, he went on a skiing trip, and then he canceled it. Yeah, well, that's just embarrassing. How? Okay. So, I just want to say, Lyman Gilmore is a Title I school. It's important to remember this, and I'll get into that later. I'm a third generation Nevada County resident, and my family's been part of California since before it was part of the United States. And so I actually have quite a few questions, but I was only really had a chance to pick one, and so I picked the most important one to me. And that is, well, actually first I'm gonna get into a story, sorry. So, when I was born, my parents owned a hair salon, and it was relatively successful. And we weren't really rich, but we had enough to not worry about getting food or paying the bills. And we even had a little bit extra so we could go on vacations. That's pretty nice. But we no longer have been able to do that because, well, let's be honest. Our representative isn't doing his job. He's being a bit of a... Yes, exactly. I was trying to come up with a good word for it, but you came up with it perfectly. Okay, so, recently, my parents have been struggling financially, and that means that I'm struggling. And I know that I'm not alone. I know most of you guys are struggling with the same things. You have to sometimes worry about whether you're going to pay bills or not. How are we going to stop that, you may ask? I don't really have an answer, but...
Neither does Kevin.
But neither does he, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at this. So much. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, my mom's business costs have skyrocketed, and she owns a business still. It's not going well. And there are reasons behind it, and there are ways to fix it. But Kevin Kiley, Trump, J.D. Vance, all those people, they're not doing anything. What they're doing is they are avoiding trying to do their job.
Yep.
Okay. So remember what I said about my school being a Title I school?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into why that's really important. So, the government is trying to cut, the government is trying to cut the Board of Education, which is federally funded. And so Title I means that we use the resources that the Board of Education has. But if we lose what the Board of Education is giving us, then we lose, for example, it's very important for us to have free lunches and breakfasts and to and from school buses. We need that. So, yeah. Thank you so much. So, I also want to talk about how we're cutting Medi-Cal and Medicaid, and that is awful. It's not what we should be doing. There's way more efficient ways to be getting more funds. So, with all that said, I wanted to say, this is freaking me out. And I know it's not just freaking me out, it's freaking everyone out. We rely on this. This is our life. This is our lifelines. And so I actually had a lovely chat with my friends at school and the people who I know there, and they're all concerned with the same things. So you might know that we are not alone, and we need to take action, and we are. This is a great example. So, Mr. Kiley, how are you going to protect the people of California from all these problems I've talked about? He's not. Yeah. So, like, yeah.
Kick out Kylie.
Alright. So, okay, how is he gonna help protect the Board of Education and Medi-Cal? Because without healthcare and education, we have no future. Thank you very much. And this was amazing. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you all for having me. This is amazing. Have a great day.
Jack, I think you're maybe the best dressed person here, that's for sure. Thank you, Jack. You are brave, you are powerful, and we are damn lucky to have you in this community. Do you mind if I free myself from the podium? Excellent, thank you. I'm a mover. I get antsy if I sit still too long. Because this fight, Jack, and everybody else, make no mistake, this is a fight. That's what this is. It's not about left or right. It's not about Democrat or Republican. That's the game they want us to play, right? This fight is about you, Jack. This fight is about every young person who deserves to grow up in a town, in a country where they feel safe and seen. This fight is about power. We're watching democracy unravel in real time, folks. The fall of democracy is no longer an abstract warning. It is happening. How many of you feel that? Yes. Earlier this month, I led a workshop on Trump's executive order, the one that's trying to erase LGBTQ+ students from public education under the guise of ending radical indoctrination. Yeah, 51 local educators and youth workers signed up because they are terrified. Because they see what's coming. And they know that kids like Jack are watching. And they're wondering, are the adults in their lives going to stand up for them? Or are we going to look the other way? Are we going to stand up for them? Excellent. Jack, I'm standing up for you. And while they wage war on young people, on immigrants, on anyone who doesn't fit into their narrow, hateful vision of America, what aren't they doing? They aren't solving the housing crisis. No.
They aren't making life better for working families. They aren't lowering healthcare costs or addressing the real needs of everyday people, are they? No. The cost of living is crushing working families. How many of you are feeling that crush? Yes. How many of you don't know if you can make it through that crush? That's significant, folks. Small farms, local businesses, our local economies, they are struggling. Wildfire season is around the corner, and the housing crisis has no end in sight. Instead of addressing any of that, they're gutting necessary programs and services, threatening teachers, and targeting the most vulnerable people in our communities. That's why in Nevada City, we're pushing forward resolutions to protect the people in places most at risk. Thank you. During our council meeting next Wednesday, please join us. We will be voting, excuse me, I have to keep to my notes, otherwise things happen. So we'll be voting to join our neighbors in the town of Truckee on 2 resolutions that oppose federal funding cuts because of the very real impacts on our community. Yes. And I'm happy to have led the charge and co-authored a 3rd resolution with Councilmember Lou Cece, Certified Immigrant Advocate Lolo Stone, and Chief of Police Dan Foss to safeguard the rights of our immigrant friends and neighbors. Because we in this room know that when the far right comes for one vulnerable community, they will eventually come for us all. So here's the thing, folks. We cannot wait for Washington to save us. Chuck Schumer ain't gonna save us. And neither is this guy, Kevin Kiley. Oh, yes. So yes, please continue to call your reps, keep pushing, keep organizing, keep leveraging your voice to move that national needle. But do not forget, our real power is here. It's in this community, locally, in our city councils, our school boards, in our communities. Local engagement and local elections matter. Nevada City Council has 2 meetings a month where we make decisions on the lives of people who live in Nevada City, who work in Nevada City, who own businesses in Nevada City, who spend money in Nevada City, and oftentimes those rooms are empty. When you show up and you join us in the conversation, we are able to represent you more fully. So I invite you to join us. Local elections matter. Next year, 2 Nevada City Council seats are up for grabs. I am the youngest person and the only woman on council. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like most of my male colleagues. But it's absolutely not representative of this community. And I think that's unacceptable. I want those seats to be filled by women who have vibrant, inclusive visions for the future of Nevada City. And at least one of them should be younger than me, please. And just this last thing as I wrap up. While they are playing the long game, taking over local governments, packing school boards with extremists, we have to play the long game too. And if you're waiting for someone else to step up, I've got bad news for you. No one is coming to save us. But I've also got good news. We don't need them to. That's right, because as Betty Yee said, when we organize, when we show up, when we fight, when we refuse to let them strip our rights away, we win. So let's go fucking win.
fabulous woman. We have our Truckee, not part of Nevada County. Truckee is being represented here. Courtney Henderson, who is on the Truckee City Council and is currently, well, she was the mayor, right? Was the mayor. And she is going to talk about the amazing things that they are doing that Daniela just touched on. And again, next Wednesday, right? Everybody at City Council. So here we go. Big round of applause for Courtney Henderson.
Good evening, everyone. What a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you all tonight. Thank you. We truly find ourselves in a time of intentionally created chaos coming out of our federal government. Now, we can let that chaos and the outrage that it justifiably causes hijack our attention, or we can focus on the immediacy of the issues before us. We can band together. We can unify our voice as one. We can unite to make our voices heard. Now, I don't know about you, but I would rather do that than let them put anger in my heart. I am going to focus on the work that we can do locally with joy and love and passion in my heart, because that's how we uplift all of us, all of our communities, all Californians. And that's why on February 25th, I asked my fellow council members for their support to bring forth a resolution to oppose the federal funding and staffing cuts to the agencies that manage our federal lands.
Yes.
Why does that matter? We have over 30 million acres of forests in California. 21.5 million of those acres are managed by federal agencies. The U.S. Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and our National Park Service. And what are the very real and potentially catastrophic impacts of those cuts? Well, then the fires. Fires are not a partisan issue. Wildfires are a life and safety issue. No one wants to lose their home. No one wants to lose their business. No one wants to suffer from the catastrophic damage of a wildfire. So that resolution was adopted unanimously at the Truckee Town Council last week. And this is why banding together is so important, because Truckee, we can't do it alone. We're a town of 18,000 residents. So in the past week, several other jurisdictions have adopted similar resolutions. Thank you. The Truckee Fire Protection District, our Unified School District, our Public Utility District, our Airport District. The town of Mammoth Lakes adopted just this week. This isn't just about the Sierra Nevada either, or those of us who live in or near forests. It impacts every single Californian. Look at our wildfire insurance. Look at what just happened in LA and what's going on with the FAIR Plan. Just as we are one region, we are one California. And that is why I am very proud to share that I am working with elected officials across the entirety of the state to have similar resolutions adopted opposing these federal funding and staffing cuts. Everywhere from Los Gatos to Sonoma to Napa, down to up to Humboldt County, down to Tuolumne County, and beyond. Because we have to unite. And we're not stopping there. We're going to continue our vigilance on this issue and on all of the other issues that, if the trend in Washington continues, are going to be impacting us right here on the ground in our communities. Representative Khanna talked about healthcare. My son, my beautiful 8-year-old boy who's here tonight, I think he gets the prize for youngest one here tonight. He suffered from a horrible concussion when he was 4 years old. And I got a call that no parent ever wants to get. Your son's unconscious and non-responsive, and he's being medevaced to a level 2 trauma center, the only level 2 trauma center from Salt Lake City to Sacramento, down in Reno. He's here today because we had access to great healthcare. We had access to a great rural healthcare system, just as every rural Californian deserves. So now more than ever, it's time to band together. It is time to protect common decency, civility, and the common good. We do this by raising our voices, united as one. We do this by holding joy in our hearts in all the work that we do. If those who purport to represent us in Washington won't be here, won't do the work to listen to our voices, we will do the work to unify and amplify our voices in a way that they are heard.
Let's do this. I'm ready right now. Right this second. I'd like to introduce another hero here in Nevada County. She was a former Nevada County supervisor, but she did she was amazing supervisor, got so much done. But what she excelled at for almost 20 years was being the CEO of the Sierra Fund. This is Izzy Martin. She's going to talk for just a couple of minutes about the political pact that she has created. And we also, I know you're just chomping at the bit to ask some questions. So we're going to bring back up Betty and Heidi to answer some of those questions. And Izzy, it's all you now.
Isn't it fabulous to see us all here together? You know, I think we all agree tonight that there is a crisis. Yeah. You know, and I hate to be in the middle of an old proverb, but as we know, as people like to remind us, crisis brings danger, and I think we're pretty aware of that. It's pretty hot, but it also brings opportunity. But really, the opportunity has to be prepared for in advance. Like when you have a crisis, say your house is on fire, that is not the moment to come up with, hey, I know, wouldn't it be neat if we had like water that connected to the house and maybe a big fire engine and maybe some way to get hold of trained personnel to get to my house right. You cannot do any of that in the middle of the fire. That has to have been done ahead of time. Well, the good news is in Nevada County, we've done it. We are ready. We have everything we need, the materials, the people, the resources to get to the crisis. I've spent the last 20 years traveling up and down the Sierra Nevada. I was actually with the mayor of Mammoth on Monday and Tuesday, and she was telling me all about their exciting thing they were going to do last night. But it turns out, as you travel around the Sierra, we are not alone. From Lassen to Death Valley, we share very important things. We just heard from Councilwoman from Truckee. We share the crest of the Sierra Nevada, sources so much of California's water. We share these forests. We share the gold strike on one side, the silver strike on the other side. We're still trying to recover from that. It's only been 170 years. It'd be kind of nice if we cleaned some of that stuff up, don't you think? But what we've learned in all of those places, we have built a safety net. We have built safety nets with veterans, with Meals on Wheels, with libraries, with women that need to be sheltered, with the environmental movement. We have built that in Nevada County, and we've built it Sierra-wide. We're kind of the strongest ones, though. We're really kind of the best, I gotta say. Just think so. But what have we been doing for the last 20 years as I've done this work? I've gotten to know progressive people all over the Sierra, and one of the things we've realized is we really have got to take elected seats. It's really great to run for the congressional seats, the Senate seat, the California State Senate seat, the Assembly seat. But what I have seen the most important and most impactful and on-the-ground people are the people in local office. It's city council members, it's recreation district members, it's the airport commissioners, as we were just hearing about. That means so much to us. We have a fire, we have a CDF fire station here in our county where we have airplanes coming right out as soon as we need them. We all have these where we live, and we all need to figure out how to get more visionary, but also practical, hardworking, boots on the ground in those seats. So several of us, I'm gonna say, this has only been under conversation for 20 years. In a minute, we have managed to now pull together a new political action committee. It's called the Sierra Protection Political Action Committee. For those of you that aren't in the arcane business of politics, political action committees really have one job, and that is to raise money and then give it to people that are running for offices whose values you agree with. And a political action committee that's only aimed at these nonpartisan seats. We're not looking at Assembly, we're not looking at Senate, we're not looking at Congress. We're looking at Sierra College District and all the other junior college districts around the Sierra. We're looking to support progressive people running for water agencies, city councils, boards of supervisors. And so this new PAC, the Sierra Protection Political Action Committee, launched on Tuesday. Is somebody from the PAC here? We were trying to get a young person coming up from Sacramento, who's one of the activists. Oh, Rena, there she is! So, that person right over there, waving her hands like this. Rena Hickey is from the Enviro Voters. She's the actual official founder of Sierra Protection PAC. She graduated from Fresno State last June. So she's a fully informed adult. If you want to know more about this, we raised more than $2,000 at our very first event, which was in Roseville. We were there with a person on the Roseville City Council who won election as a progressive. I was walking precincts out there for her in October. We were there with people who've taken other seats of power in Placer County, an absolutely vital place for us to get voters to start understanding who will represent them. So that kind of approach, we would love your support. She can tell you more about the Sierra Protection Political Action Committee. And in the meantime, as you think about how much money you want to give for all of that, I want to invite our panel up here because we're going to next hear from these folks who are trying to put this together. Betty at the statewide level, I did meet Betty more than 20 years ago when she came up to introduce herself to me. We have Heidi Hall. Why don't we move those chairs out there? And you want to ask questions, is what I'm understanding. You want people to just stand up and shout at Kathy. Kathy's really the mastermind behind this. Can we say thank you to Kathy?
And I want to do a shout out to our mic guys. We do have men speaking too. There we're there. Yeah, Adam Klein, Vice Mayor of the city. And Grass Valley, yeah, remember Grass Valley? Grass Valley City Council member Tom Ivy. Thanks, guys. So they've got the mics. You raise your hands, and they'll come and find you.
All right. Oh, I see people's hands going right up.
I just want to remind people that we have an important election in Wisconsin. We got to get that Supreme Court elected, and there's a lot of money behind the opposition. So send your money to Wisconsin.
I have a question for Betty. Are we ready to start? I have a question for Betty. First of all, I want to tell you I followed your career. I'm glad you're running for governor. I think you're a fabulous candidate. In the midst of all of these terrible things that have been happening in the last couple of weeks, I was blindsided by what the governor is doing. His embrace of far-right populist speakers on his podcast is having a devastating effect on the morale of Democrats in California. How do we get him back on track?
We speak out. So I will say that the one that really took me was I actually thought he had been really a great ally, our governor of the LGBTQ plus community. That you can debate the issue of transgender young people in sports. That to just make references to our community, our transgender sibling community, as those people, to generalize in terms of high suicide rates among them. I mean, that is not really what I would consider to be leadership. It's playing into and really, just pandering. And we have to call it out. We have to call it out. This is our own Democratic leader here in California. We have to call it out.
If you want someone to bring you the microphone, raise your hand.
Hey, I got a question for Kevin Kiley. On his town hall meeting, he said that he supports the national forests and he would do everything he could. He even talked about getting extra money. That was during the Biden administration. Now we have the situation where park rangers and forest personnel are being laid off, and his entire district is a fire district, all the way down from Inyo, all the way up to past Nevada County. So my question for the congressman, and you're welcome to answer on his behalf, is what is he doing, first of all, as a former lawyer, why is he allowing our president to ignore court orders, and what is he going to do to protect us here in Nevada County?
Well, I can't speak for him. I will say, I've said since day one, don't listen to what he says, watch what he does. We've been open since day one to see him bring resources here, protect our community, take care of his constituents here in Nevada County. I will note that he's been out there talking about the Coastal Commission and high-speed rail, neither of which have anything to do with this district. So watch what he does, not what he says.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a couple questions. The first is, how many Title I schools do we have in Nevada County? Does anybody know? And number two is, the CEO of Sierra Nevada said that, Sierra Nevada Hospital said that 14% of their patients had private insurance. That means 86% don't. And I'm assuming the lion's share of them are on Medi-Cal. So what is the outlook for our hospital if these Medi-Cal cuts go through?
I don't have the number of Title I schools in Nevada. Two? There are two. Okay. Good. So, no, the hospital, no? Okay, we'll have to find that information, just to be accurate. Okay. On the issue of the hospitals, this is dire. This is dire, and particularly for rural counties where access is already, really just a challenge. So in California, we have most of our patients most of our Californians on Medi-Cal are in rural counties. And we also have, it's a mixed population in Medi-Cal because, as you remember, many who got their health coverage under the Affordable Care Act did it through Medi-Cal. And that's a 90% match from the federal government. So that's money, that's real money. So all told, we get like about $112 billion from the federal government for Medi-Cal. And so that's what we need to figure out how to essentially replace. But it also, I'm gonna say this because, I always like to think that this might be an opportunity to rethink how we look at rural healthcare as well, and see whether, and I want to look at it not just in terms of how we patch up what's going to be breaking apart, but what are systems that we actually can put in place that are going to be sustained. And when we do that, I think there are some innovative ways that we can look at how we can increase access and not have necessarily full operating hospitals, but just being sure that our, that we have access to emergency care, that we have access to trauma care. Just being sure that the essentials are there, and looking at how we can really pull all of our funding sources together to be more flexible to do that.
And I look forward to the state helping. Obviously, this money is passed through the state. The states can't backfill it for all of us, but we're hoping they're going to work with us to do that. And I will add that, the effects are local, but they're beyond local. Again, I spend a good amount of time with my colleagues across the state and across the nation, other county supervisors as part of my job. And what I hear on a regular basis from some of my colleagues further north and in the Central Valley is that their rural hospitals are living by a thread, and those hospitals absolutely will close. And where are all those people gonna go? So every hospital is going to be impacted by this.
Somebody at the back and then up here.
Hi, thanks for coming. I have another question for the one that didn't come today. How should I put this? Congress passes budgets and passes laws such as the Infrastructure Act or the IRA, and now the President administration is taking those funds, for instance, clean energy funds, electric car charging, I think was $8 billion that he's not doing for that. What's the constitutionality of that, in your opinion?
It is unconstitutional. We have separate but equal branches of government. You're absolutely right. Congress does the appropriation, handles the purse strings. So this administration, and this is what all the lawsuits are about. And I got to hand it to our Democratic attorney generals across the country. They've been doing a phenomenal job of just challenging all this. Now, even though we've won quite a few of the cases at the first level, this administration is all about just not even, following the court orders, and so they're going to continue to push. But this is something that I wanted to just mention because you hit it right on the head. Where is the rest of Congress in terms of stepping up and really exercising their authority? We know this guy isn't interested in taking his responsibility seriously, but where's the rest of Congress?
Hi, my name is Joanne McIntyre, and I'm asking a question because my husband and I adopted two severely disabled children, and he's working, but the other is totally dependent on every public support there is. So I'm scared to death. So Speaker Johnson was just on the news saying that this whole $888 billion cut thing, the Democrats are lying totally about that. So can you speak to that a little bit about why they're trying to claim it's all a big lie and what it actually is?
Look, they're never going to talk about the human impacts of these actions because they know when they do, the lies will be exposed. And this is all going to be part of the overall effort to, achieve efficiencies. And frankly, every action that they're taking is going to cost us all much more in the long run. And so I think for what we need to do is to elevate, the impacts, being sure that people truly understand just who's going to be hurt and affected by this. And this is where our voices really matter. Our voices really matter. And these stories, and I'm just going to mention this because I hope we give something for the press and the media to really focus on. These stories are what should be in the news. These stories are what we should be talking to our neighbors about. These stories are what we should bring to the halls of Congress so that they actually pay attention to what the priorities are in this country.
And I want to say something too about this efficiency and what they're doing. I think what worries me, I'm touched and worried for you. And what worries me is the fact that you don't know which is the truth and why they're doing this. They are burying us in mistruths and untruths. And it is so important. Lies. Thank you, Roger. They are burying us in lies, and they're hoping we don't notice or we'll get distracted before they call that out. And I'll just call out one little one that can help get back at this efficiency idea, right? So I worked in the federal government, I worked in the state government, now I work in the county government. In the federal government, they were always worried about fraud, waste, and abuse. They were so worried that they established an office called the Office of Inspector General, OIG. In every federal agency, there are offices of OIGs. When I was there working in the federal government, people could access them. They could walk into their office or anonymously send them a note and say, I see fraud, waste, and abuse. Would you investigate this? And they did. That was their job. What was one of the first offices that he shut down? OIG. So don't let anybody tell you that they're out about efficiency. If they were, they would have lifted up those offices and let them do their jobs.
We're getting down to the end. Does anybody have a question?
Yeah, over here.
There's one here, there's one over there. I don't have microphones.
Can I walk past you? No.
You could move towards the microphone, people, if you wanted. That might make it easier.
I got a question here from the back, way back here. I was one of the participants on Mr. Kevin Kiley's town hall. I did not get to ask a question. From what I understand, over the course of 4 years, he had 50,000 people join his town hall. The other night, he had 25,000 people in one night, and even more people were not allowed on. This is a movement he cannot stop, and if I were him, I'd be very worried about my elected position. Now the question I have on a local issue is was asked on the line, and he deflected it like a tennis pro. The question I have is this. From what I understand, and I could be wrong about this, but the sawmill that is going to go into production in the Tahoe National Forest has now been put on hold because they cut the federal funds. A, is this true? B, if it is, how do we get this project back up online so it does the necessary work of protecting our federal forests from catastrophic wildfires? Thank you.
I will tell you that every project that has federal funding has been paused. Every single one. We don't know if it will be unpaused or not. I am being told that he is telling people, we'll take care of it, just send your specific project to us, we'll get it done. I have not seen anything done yet.
Maybe he's doing prayers and wishes. Good thoughts. He's visualizing it.
I understand that currently the Democrats are 3 seats short of taking the House. How many more votes, Democratic votes, do we need to send this child back to the woodshed?
How many more votes do we need? Well, it's for there's 3 different seats.
Oh, in this district.
We have enough votes to flip those seats, let me put it that way. As long as people get out and vote, register, please, if you're out there, register your friends and neighbors, register them, and then we'll have to get a massive get out the vote campaign. But there are enough votes out there to take those seats.
And you don't have to wait until next year. We've got 2 special elections in Florida, right? That are coming up. Stellar Democratic candidates, Indivisible. I know you know how to get this job done. So pay attention. We have actions for them with the California Democratic Party as well that we can take at least one of them. And we have, like I said, really stellar candidates. The Ron DeSantis seat, and then the one by Michael Walz, who's now the National Security Advisor.
Matt Gates. Wait, you've got can you give me a, okay, Tom's got one, sorry. Can't see it.
Just 2 questions. One is, I heard that Indivisible, you're going after, trying to cut funds for that right now. That you're being investigated, other act blues are being investigated, that kind of thing. And how are you fighting against that? And 2, what does success on April 5th look like? What should we be doing to prepare for that? Where should we go? What would be the most impact?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we as a party are staying on top of. This is going to be a constant fight. So I don't know that they're going to be able to dismantle what they would like to see dismantled because, frankly, our organizing power is beyond what they're capable of dismantling. And we have to just keep at it. The ACLU situation, there have been concerns about ACLU even before this administration, so I think there's going to be, the investigation, I don't know what the scope of it will be ultimately, but that's a wait and see.
All right, we have room for 2 more questions. We have a lot of people with their hands up over there. It might be easier if you came towards them.
She asked about April 5th.
What?
She asked about April 5th.
April 5th.
April 5th is the day of action. You can go to the CADEM website, cadem.org. It is CaliforniaDemocraticParty.org, but it's CADEM, CADEM.org. April 5th is the day of action. We are doing phone banks statewide, calling into protecting our health care, particularly in Congressional District 22 against David Valadeo, Congressional District 40 against Young Kim, and Congressional District 41 against Ken Calvert.
Hi, I'd like to talk about the elephant in the room. Why aren't the prominent Democrats speaking up?
I see a prominent Democrat.
I do.
You name them, why aren't they speaking up?
Let me just say, I think it's time for a new generation of Democratic leaders. I mean, frankly, let me just say this. You do this work. I've been doing this work. I've been an activist at heart all my life. But the way that we are going to strengthen this Democratic Party is from the ground up. And we do this because we saw what happened this last election. And I do think there is a real disconnect, and nobody's speaking about it. And the disconnect is that we are not, this quote, we have to be in touch with people's lived experiences. Well, the only way that you can be in touch with them is showing up in communities. And so, but it's not just me. I mean, there are others that will do that. But I happen to like doing that because I love campaigning when I know who and what I'm going to represent, so that I can prioritize, what I'm going to do in office. But the leaders have not been speaking out because they represent, there's a disconnect. There's a true disconnect. And not to cast, a shadow on our past leaders. I mean, they've been good leaders. But, this party has, some have called it elitist. Some have called it, follow the money. Some have called it, just going in places where, we got the votes and where we got the money, but like the rest are on their own. I mean, how's that any different from the other party, frankly?
All right, last question. Do you got something there? Vice Mayor Tom Ivey from Grass Valley.
Not the vice mayor, but we got one in the way.
Oh, that's Klein. Mr. Klein's the vice mayor of Nevada City.
Can Kevin Kiley be recalled like Governor Gray Davis? And if not, can we get a list of his major contributors? I'm sure Chevron was one of them, so we can boycott all the companies that finance him.
I know the answer to this one. That's not a right under the U.S. Constitution. In fact, not every state has the right to do initiatives. California has that right, but not all states do, and most certainly we don't have a recall procedure. But there actually is one. It's going to be in November of 2026.
Yes, exactly. Are we being too idealistic, thinking that there will be a midterm election?
I think that's a very good question. I would say that you might try to think that some people think the election is every 4 years and it's the president. That's not right. Every 4 years, it's the city council, it's the fire district, it's the school board. They can't cancel all of the elections. People will not let them. So I think people shouldn't be worried about that. I mean, I guess it could be off in the future, but my view is we really have to get serious about taking power. That's what building organization is about. We can't organize the money. We got to organize the votes, right? That's where our power comes from, the votes, not from the other side of the equation. But I think we're supposed to be done now. Am I right, Kathy? All right, I want to thank our guests tonight. Heidi Hall, the great chief person from Nevada City.
Thanks so much, Izzy. All right, you guys have heard a lot. You've heard a lot tonight. Kevin, he took a fall. He couldn't even take it. So now I want you to think about what you, as an, wrap them in that flag, yeah. I want to, if you guys can listen up, just one last 2-minute thing. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So what can you do now? You are going to have to commit to yourselves. You're going to have to commit to yourselves, your children, your family, your neighbors, your community. What can you do? That's up to you. You can dip your toes in democracy, into activism. Maybe you're already making your calls. Continue flooding those phone lines in DC, in his office in Rockland. Continue doing that. Write letters, emails, all of that. You can also, look at all these great things. Indivisible Nevada County. Go to our website and learn about the different events coming up. Volunteer, you can fill out our form. You can also donate because we can't do this without the funds, right? But I want you to know that Indivisible is a national movement. You are with 1,500 plus other chapters across the United States. And if you watch Rachel Maddow, I do. She talks about those different groups every single night. And all those people that are out there marching, that are protesting, that are showing up. Maybe some of you have been lucky enough to take my cycle class at South Yuba Club. You know how happy I am, number one, that you show up for my class. But number two, that you show up and you do the work. Because guess what? We are better together. Thank you so much for coming. Be safe out there, love each other, and keep seeking the truth.